What if the biggest clue that someone knows they crossed a line isn't an apology at all? Sometimes it's the sudden anger, the disappearing act, the subject change, or strangely enough, an unexpected wave of affection. Welcome back to TF. Today, we're looking at what can happen when a person who struggles with accountability realizes they may have been caught in their own behavior. And once you recognize these patterns, certain confusing interactions can start making a lot more sense. One common reaction is sudden anger. Instead of calmly discussing what happened, they may become defensive, raise their voice, or turn the conversation into an argument. The purpose may not be to solve anything. It can simply shift your attention away from the original issue. And that's where you have to be careful. Someone becoming angry does not automatically prove guilt. But when anger repeatedly appears whenever reasonable questions are asked, it can be a sign that the conversation has become more about avoiding accountability than finding the truth. Another pattern is refusing to answer. You ask a straightforward question, and suddenly you get silence, a completely different subject, or a response that never actually addresses what you asked. Then comes deflection. Instead of discussing the behavior, the focus suddenly becomes you, your personality, your mistakes, something you said weeks ago, anything that can move attention away from the original concern. You may even hear accusations that leave you wondering, wait, how did this conversation suddenly become about me? That shift is important to notice. Another reaction can be creating distance. They may disappear, stop responding, or take space without resolving the issue. Sometimes that distance gives the situation time to cool down. But in unhealthy dynamics, disappearing can also become a way of hoping the issue simply fades away. And then, just when you think you understand what happened, the energy can completely change. Suddenly, they're incredibly warm, extra affectionate, complimenting you, acting as though everything is perfectly fine. This is where people can become confused. Kindness by itself is not a problem. But if affection repeatedly appears immediately after difficult behavior, especially when the original issue remains unresolved, pay attention to the pattern rather than getting distracted by the temporary comfort. Real accountability is more than saying nice things. It means being willing to acknowledge what happened, listen to how it affected someone, and make meaningful changes. So if you notice anger, deflection, blame shifting, disappearing, or sudden affection whenever accountability enters the conversation, don't rush to label anyone. Step back and observe the pattern. You don't have to win the argument. You don't have to prove your point endlessly. Sometimes the healthiest response is simply to stay calm. Trust the facts you can verify, maintain your boundaries, and refuse to get pulled into confusion. If this gave you a new perspective like the video, subscribe to TF and stay with us for more conversations about relationships, emotional awareness, and recognizing unhealthy patterns. And remember, this content is for general educational and awareness purposes. Not every difficult reaction means narcissism. So always consider the full context and focus on healthy communication, personal boundaries, and your own well-being.